Hello and welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. Today we're going to go over how to make good drum patterns using stock FL Studio sounds or stock sounds in your DAW. A lot of people overlook the tools that come with your DAW. You know, I get the question, what are the best free plugins? Well, you should probably start with the plugins in your DAW. You know, your DAW comes with mixing plugins. It usually comes with instruments. It usually comes with drum samples to get you started. So that's where you want to start because, you know, there's really not much quote unquote free stuff. Now, the free stuff I would advise are free plugins from third party companies that may be giving out a plugin for a promotional offer like iZotope. Like they had a plugin for delay. That was cool. Waves had a promo for their reverb. And I think they did a promo for R-Bass at one point. So, you know, they give out random promotions. So you want to look for those, of course. But for the most part, you know, having a flock of free plugins, you know, trust me, I've gone down that road of free plugins when I first got started. And I had hundreds of plugins that I didn't need, didn't use, and just took up a whole bunch of CPU and space. Now, that doesn't mean free plugins are terrible. I'm just saying, you know, chances are you can get a better sound with DAW stock stuff or with a paid version of some other plugin. Okay, so let's get started today. We're going to go over how to get good drum patterns. Now, where, you know, here's the problem. There's only two ways you're coming into the studio. One is for song translation, and you hear this all the time. Top producer saying, yeah, man, I heard this groove in church. I went straight to the studio to translate that groove into a song. Or they'll say, I wrote a song and I had to go, you know, I had to grab that artist and we got in the studio and recorded it. So if they went into the studio with a pre-made song, why are you going into the studio without a song in hand? So there are two approaches to the studio. One is when you come in and you're experimenting, and that's the lab. That's what we call the lab. I'm in the lab. I'm trying to learn. I'm making experiments that might not work. I'm trying new things. I'm stretching my comfort zone so that I can understand different perspectives. That's the lab. That's learning. That's an essential part of being creative as well, as the lab, understanding your skill and your craft. Now, the other side is song translation. Song translation is having a solid idea before you come into the DAW, and all you're trying to do is translate. Okay, so for example, if you're experimenting with making drum patterns, you're going to make wacky drum patterns with weird time changes and weird glitches and weird different things. But if you're translating a drum idea, you know, you would take something like a beatbox and just record that into audio and simply translate that into your sequencer. Now, there are many different little steps about how to do that, and we go over that at how to make your drums have more swing or more groove. And you can type in BusyWorks Beats. We'll have a video about that, and it goes over the things like time shift, moving notes manually to fit them in the right spot. You know, different things on how to create groove and velocity changes to make it sound more realistic. So, for example, if I beatbox right now, it's not going to sound computerized. You know, the computerized beatbox would be, you know, very click, 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 click. You know, human beatboxing is really a lot more swing to it, a lot more groove. Hold up, you know, that kind of stuff. So it's a lot more complex than just, you know, in computerized, quantized sound. So that's the first step you need to realize, is that there are time differences. There are note overlaps. There are certain things you have to do with the sample. There are time delays you have to create, time differences. So let's open up stock drums and just show you how powerful these stock drums are. You don't have to go searching for tons of drums right away. Okay, so if you have the DAW, that is your first tool. You know, you're trying to look for all these external tools. You need to look at the DAW at hand. See what you can do to maximize your experience with that DAW first. So let's go into packs. Let's go to Legacy. So I'm even going to go back to the old drums that FL Studio provided just to show how you can make something out of these. Let's go to Legacy. Let's go to drums, and let's pull up the hip hop kit, and let's find some patterns. Now I'm going to switch the BPM. So about 91 BPM. And I need something that goes This one has it, but then this has the overall texture. So what I'm going to do is layer those. I'll show you how to do that. So we need something that goes t. That's almost the perfect pitch. T. This might be a little bit better based on its kind of the way it hits. We just have to pitch it up. So now we need something that goes whatever that means. So let's look for a snare that has a little bit of it. I'm going to show you how to actually take these snares and make them sound more compressed. So it goes instead of. Now you need the right raw material for this. Just want to try both of these. And I'm also going to look in the vintage kit just to see if there's another snare I could use from here. Let's try this one. Now these are very short snares. They don't have much body to them. I'm not going to complicate the process by trying to go over all the different types of snares. Okay, but we found a snare that is going to work. So now we need to draw in our kick pattern. So I want to go. Now what I'm doing, boom, boom. When you hear a boom, that means we have a swing pattern. Boom. If you hear boom, 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 that's you don't have any swing. So swing is changing quarter time into more of a triplet time. So you can hear it most when you have notes which are really close to each other. So listen to the back-to-back notes, the notes which are right next to each other here. And this note is also back-to-back with that note. It goes bum 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 bum. I want it to go ba boom, ba boom. Okay, so let's turn up swing and hear the difference. So that's the ba boom, ba boom, ba boom, instead of boom boom, boom boom, boom boom. You know. Okay, so. So let's just program in the kick. Boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. So that's the kick pattern. Now what I'm going to do is layer it with the second kick. But I'm not going to get too complicated with layering and different things. But let's send all these sounds to the mixer. Let's highlight them in the channel rack by just double clicking. Highlight all. Go to your mixer. Right click Insert One. Go to Channel Routing and go to Route Selected Channel starting from this track. Now for kick 2, I'm going to add what's called a low pass filter to muffle out that sound so it's not so high pitched because it has a clickiness to it. So let's add that low pass filter shape, which is this shape here. And we're going to pull that down. Now one more thing I'm going to do. So that's what it turned into. Now here's without, you can hear that kind of hi-hat on top of it. And I found that when you have kicks with hi-hats on them and you have them doing the boom, 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 it kind of makes it sound cheesy. So I wanted to take out that hi-hat. Now, how do we layer two of these kicks? If they're hitting at the same time, won't they clash? Yes. Depends on the frequency. But for the most part, what I'm going to do here is go to the wrench tool for the second kick. I'm going to go to what's called time shift. This will delay the second kick behind the first kick so they don't hit at the same exact time. Now it sounds a little off, but I'm going to use it for an accent. For added thrust to the kick. So now let's add that snare. So let's come up with that rhythm. Right now it's boom, blah, boom, blah. So first it's the snare selection. Now also you want to think off the grid. Everything doesn't have to be on the grid. And your best friend here is to go to the wrench tool and turn up what's called time shift. Now if you're using FL11 or below, it's called time offset under your miscellaneous tab. So go to miscellaneous or MISC and type and pull up what's called time offset. It's the same thing, time shift. You can hear that snare is now delayed, so there's a time difference between these intervals here. So the question is, how do we extend this to last a little bit longer? Well, here's where I'm going to use compression. Now you don't have to know this in and out. I'm just showing you how stock sounds can sound different when you process them in what's called mixing. And we go over mixing at our course called How to Mix Beats Easily. You could type that into Google, How to Mix Beats Easily. You'll find our free pre-course video playlist on how to get started mixing. Okay, so here I'm going to lower the threshold to capture most of the snare at negative 30 BPM. Negative 30 dB. And we're going to compress it about 4:1. You don't have to worry about this. We're just going to squash the beginning of the snare so that it matches the ending of the snare, so that they're more equal in volume. Now I'm going to crank up the output gain. And now it has a perceived longer body. Now here's without the compressor. It just goes click, click, click. Okay, now it goes. So we took that short sound and made it longer using compression. There are many uses for compression. It's not always to elongate a sound. Sometimes it's used to shorten a sound. Sometimes it's used to pull up different characteristics. Sometimes it's used to tame a sound. Sometimes it's used to add distortion to a sound, believe it or not. I'm going to crank up the gain so the levels are the same, but you can see we pulled out a lot of that elongevity. I meant to say I wanted to elongate the snare so it gives the snare more longevity in sound. I'm going to add a filter because it's a little too bright. Let's add that low pass filter. Also, you want to tune your kicks. Now, this is, again, out of the scope of the video, but it needs to be boom, boom. It's going do, do. This kick needs to be tuned as well. Actually, that has the right pitch. I might EQ this kick because it has a certain tone in here that I'm not necessarily liking. So let's add that low pass filter. And now it sounds like a boom bap beat anyway, because now it sounds like we sampled the kick. Also, you might want to try a clap instead of a snare. So a clap probably would have been the better choice in that case for the boom, that sound. But that is a technical, historical snare sound. But let's try to layer a clap in there. Let's see if we have different clap options. I'm not sure we have too many. I know we have snares. We have let's see, under the dance, I have a couple. It's the 808 clap. That has a little longevity to it because of compression. So let's see if we can layer this clap. So you can see we're layering sounds. That also adds another element of depth in your drums. Now, when you're layering, you generally want to have time differences between each of the drum sounds. So let's go to the wrench tool, turn up that time shift a bit. So we're going to make that snare feel even longer by adding a delayed clap with similar timbre. So now it sounds really long, even though it's not two separate sounds. So now I know our drum selection could be better, but the point is we're transforming the drums and adding more humanized feel to it. So let's add that hi-hat. Now the hi-hat to me is a little early. So again, we're going to go to that wrench tool, turn up that time shift. Now another trick is to actually delay the kick. So this gets a little complex, but we're delaying a lot of things. But now let's delay the kick off of the grid. Now we just need to turn down the levels because everything can't be loud. Now we have more of a boom bap, something you could use to actually create a decent song. So, without the swing, for example, here's what it's going to sound like. Even that's a good pattern, but the reason it's a good pattern is because we've added so much time shift and time delay between the elements, so everything isn't hitting on the grid. So even this sounds good. And we can instantly make it boom bappish by adding that swing. So that's how you create good drum patterns in FL Studio without using any third-party plugins. It's just a matter of time difference, swing, and also velocity control, which we really didn't even get into velocity yet of the notes. So let's cover that real quick. So velocity in this case would be, let's go to piano roll. Every time I have a kick before another kick, I'm going to lower the first kick down in velocity. This is just a technique you can use. It's not always the same. Another technique is to lower the kick that comes right before the snare. And you can hear it go, boom, boom. It goes quiet, loud, quiet, loud, quiet, loud, boom. Those are ghost notes. Adds more dynamic to the track. Now let's reset this again. Again, without swing, it still sounds good. And all you have to do is just add a simple piano to that, all the background music, whatever you want to do. And there you have it. That's how you create good drum patterns with stock sounds in FL Studio. You don't need all this extra stuff to get started. Thanks for watching today. It's busyworksbeats.com. And if you want to learn more about FL Studio and how to create full songs, go to busyworksbeats.com/FL Studio. You can click that link below to get started now. Thanks for watching. It's busyworksbeats.com.